these planes 6 days a week, tens of thousands of miles each week definitely takes a toll on a C-17. And that's where a good maintenance crew comes in. When injured U.S. troops are flown out of a war zone, pilots from Travis Air Force Base are behind the controls. Medics are keeping the wounded alive, but there's an invisible team, just as important, no one ever sees.
Without maintainers, these planes aren't going to fly.
Before every mission, the maintenance crews at Travis spend hours looking over every inch of these C-17s. It's critical because these planes fly 80 hours each week in and out of war zones.
We have a big responsibility. We're in charge of the safety of the crew. They're putting their lives in our hands.
From looking inside the engines,
they'll burn through,
to making sure the plane will land safely.
Checking all the hoses.
Replacing flares that protect the plane from missile strikes.
This panel here will come off as well, and there's another 3 canisters that fit.
And checking controls in the cockpit.
Torque the jacking bolt first.
Senior Airman Bradley Hahn is installing a $250,000 heads-up display. It allows the pilots to look straight out the window and still see the airspeed, distance, bearing, and altitude.
It's kind of, sobering thing thinking, all right, there's all these people working, to get this big jet off the ground, every day.
And on each rescue mission, there's a maintenance technician on board because sometimes things do go wrong.
We need it fixing on the road, actually in the air sometime too, so.
Well, yeah. In the air you're fixing the plane.
Sometimes, yes.
We watched Staff Sergeant Milton Dillard in action on this rescue mission to Afghanistan. This flight was picture perfect. Something Dillard and the rest of the maintenance staff strive for each and every mission.
You get a warm feeling inside, knowing that you're doing your part.
When these planes land in Afghanistan, it's up to a highly trained group of men and women to make sure that the troops get the medical attention and, more importantly, the equipment they need to survive. All the amatory are over here. Before wounded troops can make it here, they are cleared through here. This group of tents at the end of the runway at Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan is the brain of the entire AeroMed evac mission.
I didn't anticipate we would be quite this busy, but we can handle it.
Master Sergeant David Baker of Los Angeles knows where we are better than we do. It's his job and the job of the entire crew at Bagram Air Base to track all the patients and equipment flying in and out.
Once they're stabilized there, we'll make the decision either to hold them for a little while or press on, bring them back up to launch school in Germany.
Every piece of equipment here has been run through the ringer.
It's put on the shaker table and they will shake it or vibrate it for 24 straight hours, then turn it on and make sure it still works.
Thanks to the tracking system and state-of-the-art technology here, soldiers not only survive, many can be back in the U.S. in only 3 to 4 days. More importantly, they can determine just how bad a soldier's injuries are and put them on this C-17 with the precise equipment they need to make the trip across the ocean.
Say they had stopped breathing, their heart stopped beating. We have the drugs and the capability of restarting their heart in flight.
If they have to, they can transform this C-17 into a flying ER with the equivalent of an entire intensive care unit for each patient.
We are capable in flight of handling almost everything you would see in a typical emergency room, up to and including childbirth.
And while childbirth has only happened 3 times in the AeroMed evac's history, thanks to this group of ramshackle tents, in under 2 hours, these injured soldiers can be on a plane getting the medical treatment that keeps them alive. Coming up next, how the medics deal in these life or death situations.
Some burnt, some with no limbs coming from downrange. You have to put your emotions on hold because you can't function as a nurse if you take all of it in.
We take you inside the hospital where the wounded are treated and look at the other battles they face long after they've been rescued.